my saying is, if it's important to you, hire a coach. And I think that's one of the reasons people are not successful is they eat a cheeseburger instead of hiring a coach. You know what I mean? And so my coach pushes me. They're younger than me. They push harder. They're trained. And as my rich dad always said, amateurs don't have a coach, but professionals always have coaches. So I've always had coaches for whatever is important. My rich dad was one of those persons. I wanted to learn how to play Monopoly in real life. So he was my coach.
And you had mentioned that with coaching, all of a sudden the speed at which you're responding to leads is lightning fast. Whereas before you thought it was fast, and now it's lightning fast. Can you hammer on that again about how much maybe coaching has impacted that? Because you guys are on it now at bunkylife.com.
I would say we're on it. We're 80% on it. That's the whip I've been cracking for the entire quarter. But with that said, we at least know what hard work and what the end result is. So that's what I find has helped me out the most. Is coaching is a great way for someone to say, here's what good looks like. Here's what good hard work looks like in the context of whatever the problem is. And so if you can constantly be elevating that process, actually the whole business does like remarkably better. I can speak to that personally because we've really been trying to hammer this home over the past really 3 months. And just this past August, our sales have tripled in terms of how many sales. And also our sales in the US, we just found out, are approaching 50%. So we're growing, not just growing, but growing for us is a huge market. So it's just so important to just every day, every week, review those scripts. Are they still working? Are they still the best they can possibly be? And then are they being followed by everybody?
To be coached hard means you have to be willing to be uncomfortable.
Some shows don't need a celebrity narrator to introduce the show, but this show does. In a world filled with endless opportunities, why would two men who have built 13 multi-million-dollar businesses altruistically invest 5 hours per day to teach you the best practice business systems and moves that you can use? Because they believe in you, and they have a lot of time on their hands. They started from the bottom, now they're here. It's the Thrivetime show starring the former U.S. Small Business Administration's Entrepreneur of the Year, Clay Clark, and the entrepreneur trapped inside an optometrist's body, Dr. Robert Zillner. 2 men, 8 kids, co-created by 2 different women, 13 multi-million-dollar businesses.
We started from the bottom, now we're here. We started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we're here. We started from the bottom, now we're here.
Started from the bottom, now we're at the top, teaching you the systems to get what we got. Colton Dixon's on the hooks, I break down the books. Z's bringing some wisdom and the good looks. As the father of 5, that's why I'm alive. So if you see my wife and kids, please tell them hi. It's the CNC up on your radio, and now 3, 2, 1, here we go.
We started from the bottom, now we're here. We started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now we're here.
All right, Amelia, on today's show, we're going to talk about a workflow. So on today's show, we're going to talk about a workflow. You are a consultant. You work with actual clients, and you help to manage the elephant in the room, our haircut chain. So full disclosure, Amelia, who you're going to hear on today's show, you won't see her on today's show, but you will hear her. She helps run Elephant in the Room Men's Grooming Lounge, and she's a consultant, so she understands workflows. I understand workflows, and today's guest understands workflows. Dr. Troy Spurl, welcome on to the Thrivetime Show. How are you, sir?
Doing well. Thanks for having me, Clay.
So what we're going to do on today's show is I'm going to walk people through what an actual workflow looks like. And I'm going to go through our system that we teach clients, but I'm going to do it in a way where I'm trying to talk about the stuff behind the stuff that no one ever talks about that makes it hard to implement the things we teach. So what we do as a coaching program is we help wonderful people like yourself to implement these systems, but there is stuff behind the stuff that is, there's stuff behind the stuff that makes it difficult to implement this. And so first off, let's look at your website real quick. That's officialsynapse.com. Could you share with the listeners out there, what exactly do you do, sir?
So we're a functional medicine clinic. We deal with healthcare and getting to the root cause of disease, why you feel the way you do.
So you are a healthcare clinic. That's what you do.
Yep.
And for you, if you're listening out there today, you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're a dentist, you're an outdoor living company, you're a home remodeler, you have a business. Well, you're all going to have this workflow. It's a 14-step workflow. And we're going to walk through that step by step on today's show during about a half hour together today. And I really want everyone to mentally engage and picture this conversation as your business, okay? Or your future business if you're thinking about one. So step one, you have to establish your financial goals. You just have to do it. And, as an example, last night, one of my son's good friends, he plays high school football. And I wanted to see my son's friend play high school football. So I went to the game. Amelia, do you think it's fair to say that I had to pay for the gas needed to get to the game?
I think that's a fair assessment. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think it's fair to say that I had to pay for the food at the game?
Yeah.
That's where I've deceived you, because my friend had box seats, so I didn't have to pay. But normally I'd have to pay, right?
Right.
So, and then my wife last night, we had a bunch of young girls spending the night at our house. My daughters have friends and they invaded my house. And so I come home and there's the remnants of their having a good time. All of those things cost money. And so once we get off this high in the sky vision of, we want to start a business to be part of the global community, whatever that is, whatever that jackassery is being taught at college, you have to actually know your financial goals. And so Dr. Spurl, your focus is on helping your patients. True.
Yep.
And I'm not asking for your numbers, but why do you have to know your financial goals?
Well, to keep the doors open, because I can't help anyone if I'm not able to pay the bills at all.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to pull up another example here. So I'm going to pull up one of my businesses, Elephant in the Room. Amelia, you hear me say it probably every 5 minutes, but I'm always telling our staff to never turn away a client.
True.
And in the medical businesses I work with, I'm always telling them, do not turn away a patient. Why am I saying that?
Because you can't make money if you don't have clients, if you don't take clients, if you don't take walk-ins or take call-ins, last-minute appointments, then you won't make any money, because no-shows are a real thing, cancellations are a real thing.
Right.
And then you would never make any money if you didn't have any clients.
So important that you do that. So important. So again, step one, figure out your goals. Okay. Now, at a certain point, and this is going to sound crazy to somebody, it's okay to hit your goals at a certain point. So let me give you an example. There's a buddy I know who is so physically fit. It's awesome. You look at him and you go, whatever you're doing, keep doing that. All right. But at a certain point, Dr. Spurl, he started, actually losing his health as a result to achieve health that's beyond reasonable. I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but this is a guy who is, not a client, just a friend of mine who is unbelievably jacked. How is that possible, Dr. Spurl, for somebody to actually compromise their health by being so obsessed with their health that they actually begin to hurt their health? How is that possible?
Well, we see that all the time, actually. People who are so anal about eating right that the stress of eating right is actually causing more damage than not eating right.
It's unbelievable. And this guy, I'm just being real with you. This guy, he had some issues. He's doing some steroids, true story, having some issues. He's got like personal trainers to the point where like his ligaments and his elbows and his knees are not working well. Like he's got all sorts of problems. And it's just like, so when's enough? I have 160 clients. I don't want to have 1,600 clients, but let's pretend that I did want to have 1,600 clients. Amelia, true story, we'll be kind of vague here, but elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Do we not have to comply with employees that refuse to pay child support?
We do all the time, actually.
And they lie about it, do they not?
They do.
We hire them and we say, here's your paperwork, fill it out. And if you have any dependents, that's your personal business, but you need to fill it out so we can do proper deductions, right?
Yep.
In a job interview, do you have any felonies? Do you have any arrests? Do you have any criminal background? And they lie about it. Mm-hmm. I mean, think about it. Are you dealing with one issue like that or two or seven? Or how many of those kinds of issues are you dealing with right now, Amelia?
I've had 3 that I just in the past month,
right,
that I know right off the top of my head.
This is the stuff no one talks about. Elephant in the room years ago, haircut chain. A lady came up one day, wanted to talk to her husband. I call the husband, hey, buddy, there's a woman here wants to meet you. Says, he says, oh, that's not my wife. I'm like, well, was that ever your wife? No. Okay. Did you ever produce a child with this person? I don't know who this is. And then this woman's filing child support. That's the stuff behind the stuff. And nobody thinks about the emotional and financial toll of those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
So again, Dr. Spurl, I ask you again, do you ever deal with these kinds of things, these kind of that kind of stuff behind the stuff?
Oh yeah, yep. We deal with it all the time. People have things in their personal life that you don't find out about until much later.
Yeah, and again, this is the stuff behind the stuff. I hope this is going to be very helpful for people listening here, the stuff behind the stuff, okay? So again, you go to officialsynapse.com, what you see is a laser show of quality. You see people that are happy. You go to Official Synapse, people are happy. It seems like, wow, this is an incredible place, but there's stuff behind the stuff that goes into that. Dr. Spurl, how did you first come in contact with us? How did you first hear about us?
Well, gosh, that was a while ago now. And truthfully, it was on YouTube, first of all, and it was a Kim Clement video of all things that eventually led me to you. And we were very like-minded in a lot of stuff. And I met you, and then I said, this is a guy I can work with. And I needed what you had. I needed the construct. I needed the plan. And I've always been a hardworking guy, but I needed someone to help guide me. And that's what you're like my little lanes on the bowling alley where I just bounce off of it, and you keep me focused on the right stuff.
What kind of growth have you had, or what kind of improvement have you had since you've really you've never not been diligently working, but since you started diligently working on the business and not in the business, what kind of metrics or changes or impact have you seen?
Well, first of all, I am measuring those metrics. So that was different. I actually have good tools to actually guide decisions. So that was number one. Number two, we've had a lot of growth as far as the biggest one is just the flow of people. Over 127% was our last number, which was about 6 weeks ago that I had that one. And then revenue is up. We actually are reducing debt as well that we had accumulated because of some expansion ideas that we were doing. So we're up 127% in what we call discovery calls or new people. We have expanded our team by 40% because of that growth. So a lot of good stuff that's come out of it. And as far as just revenue to pay for things, 38% as of last month.
And this is just so big. I hope that everyone gets this. I could do entire shows about songwriting. That's one of the things I do a lot behind the scenes. And I mean, like once a year, one of my songs will reach 1 million people, and then people don't know I do that. But I have fun with it. But it's like the stuff behind the stuff. You might hear the song and go, I like that song, but you don't know of the ad-lib vocals and the reverb and the different effects and all the things that go into it that make it work. And so if you look at a successful business, if you go to, I mean, tell you, if you're listening to this show today and you're looking for a doctor you can trust in all 50 states, you go to officialsynapse.com, and what you see is a well-oiled machine, but the stuff behind the stuff is what I'm talking about today. Mm-hmm. So we move on to box number 2. Amelia, we have to break even. Elephant in the room. You see all sorts of expenses at the elephant in the room behind the scenes. Big expenses.
Huge.
So let me just walk you through a few, and then when I come up for air, you one-up me, and then Spurl, you can one-up me even more. Okay, so here we go. Since I've known you, Amelia, our downtown store has been broken into. Mm-hmm. Then we had a bunch of equipment stolen from who I believe to be an employee. Mm-hmm. The insurance company says, well, it's so big that we won't cover it. What? Well, it's not big enough for us to cover it. So because when you're talking to the insurance company over the phone, they say, how much crap was stolen? And you say, well, this much stuff stolen. They go, wow, that's a lot of stuff. You go, this stuff, that stuff, that stuff. And then they go, well, unfortunately, it's not enough stuff to cover it. So, and then you talk to the police, and the police, sir, can you tell us what happened? And you go, yeah, we've got a break in here. Lights. They show up, and we fill out the police report. We're going to get down to the bottom of this. But at the end of the day, did they ever find the person who broke in? No. Did I get my money back? No. Did the insurance cover it? No. The pro tip I got from a contractor, and then the pro tip I got from a police officer was, you guys might want to put a stronger door in here. Oh, sure. Yeah. Thank you. I should operate my hair business in a castle. Thank you. I'll put a moat around it. I'll put lava around it. I'll get alligators. Yes. I've had that dream when I was in 3rd grade. Let's do it. That's what we're going to do. Okay. Anyway, employees break things all the time.
All the time. Every day. Things flood a lot. Leaking.
Forgot to turn off the water. My bad. Right. Yeah. Floods.
Yes.
What else?
Breaking their tools is probably the most expensive thing that I see.
Breaking tools, breaking shears,
those guys are expensive.
What else do they break?
Everything. They break their chairs.
Chair-
Chairs are super
Breaking
expensive.
a chair. How the? And so, is true story. This is a true story. About a year ago, what a guy on my team, won't mention his name. He calls me and says, "Can I borrow the van? Can I borrow the van?" I said, "You can borrow the van." So, okay, I want to borrow the van. I just want to go here to there. No big deal. I can borrow the van. I'll be back in like 10 minutes. Sure. I come back. My van is a tall rectangular van. I come back and I look and I'm like, it's the back tail light is definitely missing. And it looks as though they ran under like a drive-through that says limit 9 feet or something.
Yeah.
And they hit that, boom, 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 and it like beveled the side of the van.
Yeah.
And then somehow the sliding door doesn't open as a result of that interaction. And that's the kind of stuff that happens behind the scenes. Sperl, is there any stuff behind the stuff that people just don't think about when they own a business? Because again, I'm trying to encourage people to have big goals, but also think about the emotional tolls. What? Have big goals, but think about the emotional tolls. It all rhymes. I promise it'll make sense, folks. I have a plan here. Think about your goals, but think about the emotional tolls, right? Okay. And then think about your roles. Who's going to do it?
Yep.
Because if you set huge goals and you don't think about the emotional tolls and the roles, you're going to get overwhelmed and you're going to end up looking like a crazy person. So Dr. Sproul, any stuff behind the stuff that people don't think about as it relates to breaking even or costs?
Yeah. So the best way I explain it to my team at this point, it's kind of like when a contractor goes in and does a remodel, but they don't know what is behind the walls. What I figured out is that's true for all businesses in working with you guys, because there's always surprises, and we've all got stories. I mean, I've got, well, I can't, I don't want to go into detail, but we have
Sure, yeah.
stories of having to clean up. I'm in healthcare, so there's defecation, there's all kinds of
Right.
bodily fluids that end up in places. And so
Yeah.
you guys have water leaks, we have other leaks. So there's things that happen, and there's surprises in cleanup, and you never know what you're going to come up against, but you have to plan for those surprises. And so that's where knowing your numbers really, really helps you be able to break even and even profit.
And I would argue, if you don't listen to this show, there's probably no other show that talks about this stuff ever. You know, like I'll talk about it on today's show, and I guarantee you somebody will leave a comment. But let me give you an example. We had about 12 years ago. This is about 10 years, 11 years before I met Amelia. So 12 years ago. So, you know, I'm at that point, I'm like 30 years old. Okay. And I remember, I'll never forget this, bro. I had to come into a meeting and I had to say, guys, awkward meeting, but we're going to go with it. In the handbook, it says you guys can't date each other, but you also can't sleep with each other. Okay. And they're like, what? And they're looking around, and their reaction was like, are you kidding me? So after the meeting, like multiple people came up to me and said, dude, who do you think you are getting in our personal business? And I'm like, what? I mean, and the reason why I had to say it is because I knew of 3 people that were sleeping with each other that weren't married to each other, and their spouses certainly didn't know they were sleeping with other people. And all of a sudden I'm dealing with that. Next thing I know, I got another half dozen employees like, who are you to tell us what to do with our personal lives? I mean, this is wild stuff. So again, this is the stuff behind the stuff. It is real. It is real. Okay. So how many hours per week are you willing to work? I like to work 6 days. So for me today, at the end of the day, my daughter, I'm taking her on a dad-daughter date. We get into that. It's fun. We've got 4 daughters. I try to block out time for that. I went out with my son last night to a football game. That's just as important to me as business stuff. But I think business owners a lot of times aren't good at setting those things in their calendar. And therefore, their life is just a complete train wreck because they don't block out time to take their kid to the game. They don't block out time for the meeting. They don't block out time to take their daughter on a date. They don't block out time for the staff meeting. Can you talk to us, Dr. Sproul? How has that helped you being intentional, maybe working with, you know, a coach that's kind of really obsessed with time blocking? How has that impacted you, sir?
Tremendously, because my calendar, I live by my calendar. In healthcare, there's always an emergency. So if I wanted to, I could work from 5 a.m. till midnight every single night, just working with all of the fires that people have in their life when it comes to their health stuff. So I abide by my calendar, and I set that rule in place, and people know now. It was out of control for a little bit, and now it's not completely. Now I have calendared my life, really, and I live by that. It is so freeing and rewarding to actually have that planned out, and it tells you what you can say no to. Let your yes be a yes, your no be a no, and your calendar can dictate that for us, and you can prioritize stuff. It's awesome.
Have you guys heard about the new Reagan movie?
I've heard of
Yeah.
it.
Okay, so I want to take my wife and kids to go see it. Now, the problem we've got is Don Jr., Trump's youngest son, President Trump's youngest or oldest son. He is going to come speak. I'm bringing him in to speak in Tulsa. So my family says to me, I said, family, let's go see the Reagan movie on Friday. And I got 5 kids, 2, my mother-in-law, my mom, my wife. So there's, I got to run this by a committee of like 8 people. And they're going, well, we can't do Friday because Friday we got the game. Can't do Saturday because that's when the party is. Can't do Sunday because that's what we can't do Monday. We could do Tuesday. Let's all do Tuesday. Yeah. And I look at my calendar and go, can't do it. Why? Don Jr.'s in town. Babies. Don Jr.'s in town. We can't say, oh, Don Jr., we can't hang out with you, Don Jr. You know why? Because we're watching Reagan. No, these are like the modern Reagans. We can't like forsake the current Reagans to watch the old school Reagan. But because I have a calendar, I can have that conversation. But I find that most people don't have a calendar, and therefore they're double booking themselves. I don't know, Amelia, if you deal with this a lot because you manage a wonderful team of people, but do you ever have employees that forget what day they're supposed to work?
Every day.
Isn't that wild?
Every single day.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Have you ever been to, Amelia, have you ever been to Breckenridge?
I have not.
Have you been there, Spurl? Dr. Spurl, have you been there?
I haven't.
Geez, let me say on this real quick here. Let me say on this vision. So Breckenridge is a place where it's my happy place. First off, let's just say that. So my wife and I, one of the things we have found that we like to do as a couple, everyone's got their own flow. I like to go to places, and I don't really have I just want to go to a place where it's not here, and it's kind of in the mountains, and it's got a lot of trees, and it's got kind of a town energy to it. And I go there. Let me go to Breckenridge. This is where I go. I'm going to send in the man. Where's the man? Send in the man. Drop in the man. Where's the man? Okay. So this is Breckenridge. This is kind of what it looks like. This is what it feels like. This is kind of the vibe. And there's a Starbucks here that we start. All my great stories start at the Starbucks. So we're going to go to the Starbucks here. And I'm not endorsing it, just how it is. So Starbucks, Breckenridge. Okay, Breckenridge. And so, what we do is as a family, I'm doing it right now. I'm trying to sell my family. I'm like, guys, you know what's coming up? What's coming up is Thanksgiving. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to go to Starbucks. We're going to go to that Breckenridge. That's what we're going to do. And you guys are excited about their dad. I don't know if we want to go. Like, stop. You want to go there, and soon you're going to discover this is where you want to be. And they start to say, Dad, are you sure? And I talk about it to the point where I work it into, it's almost reality now. And they're like, Dad, you really want to go to the Starbucks? I'm like, yeah, because there's a yellow Starbucks here. It's there. It's over here. Where is it? Come on, Starbucks. Oh, there's my yellow Starbucks. Let me see if I find it. But anyway, so you there you go. You got to kind of sell the vision to the family of why they want to go here. But then there's my yellow Starbucks right there. Look, it's like a house, but it's a Starbucks. And it's but I sell the family on this dream, and they're going, Dad, is this really what we're doing? I'm going, yeah. And you have to plan it now in advance because it's not going to just drift into happening. And I have to start selling the vision about, guys, we could go downtown, Main Street, Breckenridge. Imagine the snow, imagine the pageantry, imagine the mountains. Think about this, guys. We could be in Breckenridge for Thanksgiving. Come on. Everybody's excited. Feeling the flow. And over time, they start to get more and more excited. They're going, okay, but I have to, Spurl, I have to have the big vision. And then I have to block out a time in the schedule because it's not just going to drift into happening. We have to block it out in the schedule, and somebody has to have the mindset in advance to block out the time in the calendar to make it happen. You have to have that big goal, but you eventually have to block out time because this is going to be a great trip. Last time we went, the kids had a great time, but you got to start blocking stuff out. You got to start telling the kids, you can't book yourself for that. Can't book yourself for this. Why? Because we're going to Breckenridge, and you've got to be really, this gondola, by the way, is where it's at. This gondola is where the party's at. This gondola, this is where you go. You get on the gondola, and I don't ski because I'm terrified, but you go up there on this gondola. The gondola. Let me find the gondola. Oh, yes. So you go up here on this gondola, there it is, and you ride this thing all the way up to the top, and it's awesome. But Spurl, you have to do this with your family too, because if you're not careful, you're going to spend your whole day locked into your office, working in that office like a slave, constantly responding to employee urgent demands, emotional please. By the way, you can take the gondola to here. And once you get to here, you're like, could it get better? I'm here. No, but you can get better because you can keep taking the gondola up to higher places. So now you're up. This thing, look at this, folks. You can take this thing up with this. And there's like a restaurant right here where you can kind of marinate. Oh, this is an incredible place. I want to go there now, but I can't. But you want to, but Sproul, if you don't block out time in your schedule right now, if you're listening to this show and all you do is focus on workflows and systems, you're not going to live your life. So let's talk about that for a second. Blocking out hours. Why is that important for somebody out there that's not sold on the dream? Because we are going to Breckenridge for Thanksgiving or someplace awesome. It's happening. We're not going to be stuck sitting in a circle talking about how, full we are for the meal we ate and then sleeping until 4 p.m., sleeping through the Lions playing the Cowboys or something. We're going to actually go somewhere. Sperl, why do you have to block out time for these kind of things?
Otherwise you become a victim to your circumstances, and our why we do things. A lot of times it's the business is part of it, but it's our family, it's our relationships, it's the other things that matter. So you have to prioritize those other areas and not let your own success get in the way. And it can be done. It absolutely can be done.
Now, determining we're going to fly through these. Number 4, you have to nail down your unique value proposition. Elephant in the room, we offer a high-end men's grooming lounge experience, kind of like a country club for men's hair. The first haircut's $1. Sperl, what makes you unique there at officialsynapse.com?
Well, in healthcare, we have a free discovery call. So people go to that page that you're on right now, and they can have a 30-minute talk with our onboarding doctor, and it's free. So we can get them going down the right track.
Nobody does that, by the way, folks. Nobody does that. Nobody's offering a free high quality first exam or first. It's not going to happen. So your unique value proposition, you got to nail that down. I recommend you mystery shop your top 3 competitors. So just today, I was talking to Andrew on our team. I wanted him to mystery shop a couple different brands on behalf of one of my clients. And I have great news for my particular client. I'm going, wow, the people you're competing with are totally off their game. And so you, Mr. Client, you're going to be able to win easily. You've got to mystery shop your competition. Point number 5, improve the branding. That's a big thing. And you do a great job of this, Amelia, but the branding is what people see, they smell. If you're making a checklist, folks, it's sights, sounds, smells, how the phone is answered, how the website looks, what people see when they look you up. Why do you every week go to the different stores and obsess about cleaning those things?
To make for sure that everybody has a great experience, to make sure that the sights, the sounds, the smells are all consistent across all 3 shops, that they're all, I got a call one time, we were on a business trip and I got a call. Do you know that there's rock and roll music playing in one of the shops? I was like, that can't happen.
Right.
We have a playlist curated by Mr. DJ Connection himself here. That has to play in all 3 shops at all times, or it just can't happen.
And I've really thought through the playlist because I want it to be a great experience for people, Point 6, create a 3-legged marketing stool. You've got to create a 3-legged marketing stool. You have to have a way in which you acquire customers. And we work with our coaching clients to help them do that. But man, you've got to be consistent with that. And Sperl, each and every week, you and you hop on our broadcast, and I'm happy to share the solutions that you provide with our listeners because they're great solutions. But, we have to block it out on the calendar. Every single week, it's very important that if you're listening today, that you're asking your real customers to leave you an objective review. That's an important thing. Every single week, it's important that you think about the trade shows you need to be participating in, but you have to have a checklist. Your marketing can't be a series of feelings. It has to be a checklist. Point number 7, sales scripts, recorded calls, one-sheets, lead trackers. People are going, what? You got to have sales scripts, recorded calls, one-sheets, pre-written emails, lead trackers. I mean, this is the detailed stuff. And I mean this, and I'm not trying to attack anybody listening to this, but Amelia, if I told you that every time someone goes to eitrlounge.com and requests a $1 haircut, if I told you that we had to call the average person 6 times to reach them on the phone, would that be shocking to you?
Not at all.
Would it be shocking to you if I told you we had to call the average person 6 times on the day they fill out the form?
No, not at all.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I talked to a guy the other day, and God bless him, but this was his complaint. Well, I'll tell you what, I filled out the form and you guys are calling me nonstop. I'm like, okay, well, did you request a haircut? Well, I did request a haircut, but y'all call me up at work. Did you fill out the form when you're at work? Well, yeah. Well, I mean, so we have to reach you, but it's that weird thing where like you'll call somebody back And they're, what, who's this? And you're like, this is official sign apps. You filled out the form. I did. I mean, it's almost like, what? I mean, so it's really important that you call, you text, you email every lead every single day. Sperl, since you've been myopically focused on making sure that you reach every customer, you've always been obsessed with that. But now that you're really on it, like calling and texting and following up consistently, how has that impacted the growth there at Official Sign Apps?
Tremendously. It's actually made us a lot better because we didn't have scripts. We didn't have recorded phone calls, and people might think this doesn't necessarily apply in healthcare. It absolutely does, because when I listened to some of the calls that my staff was having, I was surprised at just basically how long the calls were, and it wasn't serving the person calling or my staff member. It was stressing them out. So they actually are enjoying having, like, we went back to work and we re-scripted and say, this is how you handle this type of call, and their stress level has gone down as far as my employees. So it's helped. And then developing a tracking sheet, I can make decisions. I know how my business is running at just one 60-second view of my tracking sheet. You can see the trends, the patterns, everything. It's so rewarding. It's the same thing I do as a doctor, looking at lab work to diagnose a disease. The tracking sheet is my lab panel to diagnose a disease.
You know, this is interesting, but Amelia, every single Tuesday we play the calls in our office of all of our employees. We listen to them for quality feedback.
We do.
Why do we do that?
Because you want to make sure that every customer that calls in or that is getting a call is getting that consistency with the call script. And you would not believe the amount of calls per week that you find people aren't following the script, and you have to keep up with that weekly or they'll just keep going off track.
Just yesterday I had like a vein pop out in my forehead because I was talking to one of the employees. I'm serious. I heard him say, yeah, I'm so sorry, we're all booked out, but we'll try to get you in soon. And I'm going, what was that? What? I mean, do I not talk about this at every meeting all the time? Never turn down a haircut? And it's like, oh, my bad. I don't know. I mean, it's you have to obsess on this stuff. It's so important. Point number 8, you have to figure out, what does it cost you to get a new customer? And you wouldn't know that unless you know how much you're spending on marketing, and then how much it costs, unless you track how much am I spending on customers. Okay. And how many customers did I get? You won't know that unless you're actually tracking these things. Point number 9, create repeatable systems, processes, and file organization. You can't build an organization unless you're organized. So this morning at 5 a.m., JT and I got to work here at 5 a.m. to organize files. Why? Because you, Amelia, were looking for the passwords.
Yes.
And you could not find the
passwords.
Why?
Because they were not in Dropbox, which is where we universally keep all the passwords.
So you couldn't find them in Dropbox.
True.
But the passwords were supposed to be in Dropbox.
True.
Why couldn't you find them in Dropbox?
Because nobody put them there.
But it's not like a mean thing. It's not like somebody woke up with a nefarious agenda. But at the end of the day, what happens is, if you're not careful, you're not going to drift into password organization. It's just not going to happen. And we've all got to be so intentional about these things. Dr. Sperl, do you find that your team or other teams or just people on the planet Earth drift into organization? Is that what you found in Minnesota? Are people just by default drifting into perpetual organization, or does stuff drift into disorganization, sir?
Drifts into disorganization for sure. And so we are constantly organizing, and then reorganizing, because even when things get organized, over time, they start to get a little sloppy. And Amelia's right. You have to stay on top of it. And so we've calendared when we specifically review and audit our organization right now. And to date, this is the most organized we've ever been. And next year, from 1 year from now, I will be able to say, to date, this is the most organized we've ever been, because that's what we continually do now.
This is so important. I hope somebody's learning something on today's show, because again, if you go to Official Sign Apps, I mean, you're going to see a well-run business, but you need to know about the stuff behind the stuff. Final few boxes here. You got to have management systems. And Amelia, I'm going to ask you this question. I'm not trying to get you in trouble with any employees or anybody, but how often is there an employee emotional, just freak out moment that has really nothing to do with anything that you have done or that I have done or a customer has done? I mean, just a time where an employee just freaks out because of a life issue unrelated to what we've done.
I'll tell you this. I had 4 yesterday.
Right.
4.
Yeah.
Got phone calls all day, text messages all day, phone calls after I went home last night, all day.
Now, this is what's crazy.
Every day.
My wife and I got married when we were 20. So I had, just to be clear, I had dozens of employees when I was 20 years old. So my worldview is very different because I would have friends who are 20 and we would hang out with them for a while there. And they would say, how was your week? And they're like, oh man, I had to call in sick, man, because it was too much. And so I just had to call in sick. So man, I'm so glad we could get together tonight. I'm going, you called in sick? And, yeah, my boss is like, wants me to be at work every day on time, just writing me all the time. And he freaked out the other day. He said that because I didn't save the passwords in the right folder, it's just like, man, I'm like, so you called in sick. You had to call in sick. Why? Because my boss, he micromanages. He follows up with me like every week and asks me if I save my stuff in the right spot. I mean, it's ridiculous. I'm going, you would get fired in my company. And I start to think about how most people view the world, and most people don't view the world like a business owner. It's a rare thing. And Sproul, I'm going to pull this stat up for you, and it becomes more and more bleak every day. But we're down to 9.2 million self-employed people in America. So it used to be a time where you'd have like a 10% of our population was self-employed, which would be 33 million. Now we're down to less than 3% is self-employed. And this number goes down all the time. It's like the birth rate. It just goes down and down and down and down and down. So very few people can relate to this. So I want to ask you this, Amelia, because you guys do a great job managing. How many people do you know that could relate to what you deal with on a daily basis?
Like managers or what?
Just people on the planet Earth that can empathize with what you deal with as a manager.
If they have ever had experience managing, quite a few, I would say.
Okay, so what if they haven't managed people?
I would say you really don't understand the depth of what these people will do to you if you've never managed people.
Right.
It's insane.
It really is. And I think the only way to deal with it and emotionally do it is, you read the Bible, Matthew 5:10. I mean, it talks about blessed are ye who are persecuted for righteousness' sake. If you don't like that, just read Matthew, Mark, or Luke. I mean, Jesus is doing the right thing and gets persecuted because of it. If you don't like that, if you're really getting depressed, read the book of Job. If you read the book of Job, you'll feel really good about yourself after reading the book of Job. Okay. So now point number 11, you got to create a repetitive weekly schedule. Dr. Sproul, you have to have a schedule for your employees, for your staff, for your customers. You can't have on the sign, on the website, on the door, this week we're going to be open whenever. You can't put on the sign, this week will be open whenever. You see small businesses all the time that do this kind of thing where they don't have consistent hours. Sproul, why do you have to sit down and make a weekly schedule for your weekly interview, your daily huddle, your staff meetings? Why do you have to block out time for these things?
It's how we stay organized. It's how we stay on top of things. It would be chaotic if we didn't do that. We would be able to see maybe 1/10 of the actual people that we see, and we'd be able to operate. We wouldn't operate successfully. I can tell you that.
I think that, again, by default, very, very few people are by default doing these things. Okay. Point number 12, you've got to have a constant process for recruitment. Now, Sproul, you have a quality staff that works for you, but I want to tell you a story that is true from your industry, but very vague, not related to you, but related to your industry. There's a person I know very, very well, known him for years, high quality, shares your worldview. And this person, took the eye off the ball a little bit, the eye off the ball. We'll call that a vacation. Okay. And they're on a vacation, they're on the beach, and the staff starts to say, well, in order to come to this business, you have to wear a mask. Now, the owner is not that kind of guy. The owner's not you have to wear a mask to come in my business guy. But the staff, he was gone for 2 weeks. And in 2 weeks, the staff has implemented a full policy without his knowledge that you have to wear a mask or you can't come in right now as of September 7th of 2024. That's what? So the staff is like, hey, listen, this is our policy. If you don't wear a mask, you can't come in. This is a guy who's probably the most outspoken person on the planet about not making anybody wear a mask, but yet his staff has implemented this policy. How could that possibly happen, Dr. Sproul? Because I think people think you can set it and forget it in business, and they don't know that running a business is like running a garden. Talk to me about that for a second. How could that possibly happen if a business owner takes their eye off the ball for even just 2 weeks?
Well, because even though you've got some maybe A players who are doing the job right, if you're not staying on top of it and auditing it yourself, they can have personal beliefs that are different than yours, and then start to operate out of those. And so that would be a tough one for me to come back to. I don't know if I'd be able to keep that person, even if it was an A player on my team, because that's a big deal. But it happens all the time. And one of the things I learned from you, Clay, is when I do weekly interviews, it helps motivate my team to know that there are other people looking to come in here, number one. But I also vet people, and I bring on people that that can get along with my vision. I bring on people who are okay with being just brutally honest when it comes to having conversations. And it's okay for us to disagree. You have to be able to disagree, but they have to know that this is our identity as a clinic, and this is who we are. And just laying it out there like that, you tend to attract people who at least they know who you are, and they respect you so much for that they're not going to go against your vision, your wishes, because they know you. I have my top manager say a lot of times, yeah, I like what you're saying, but we're not going to do that. There's no way Troy would be on board with that. And I love that.
And I'll tell you this, if you get a bunch of A players, that's how it's going to go. Now, let me pull this up real quick here for you, because this is powerful. You know, you got to have an HR checklist, a resource list. And I tell you, Amelia, you make a list of all the teammates and track how they're doing. Because an A player can become a B player over the weekend.
Yeah.
B player can become a C player over the weekend.
True.
Occasionally a C player can become an A player. But so what I started seeing a few months ago with one of my companies is a few staff members who were the bottom feeders. Mm-hmm. They started telling me rumors about you. So they would say things like, I don't know if you know, but she is just like not following the uniform policy and always on her phone. Mm-hmm. And I'm going, all right, well, you know, she's a manager, so her job is to check in with the corporate office on the phone. Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, I never use my phone at all. I never use my phone at all. And I'm always up in dress code. And this person's coming up here, always on the phone and not in dress code. Now, those things were not true. And so I called multiple people, and everybody told me that this person was lying to me. But I found that B players like to recruit C players. C players like to recruit D players. And if you don't set that standard, the A players are expected, by default, you'll drift into that C player culture. Amelia, I want to get your thoughts on that. What happens if you have too many low energy C players in the office at one time?
Then the A players start to feel like it's okay to act that way. They see if everybody else is doing it, then, you know, why am I holding myself to such a high standard? So you have to keep that high standard. I try to remind everybody in the shop, specifically, we do talk about A, B, and C players, and we are very open about, like, are you being an A player today? Did you come in, you know, immediately complaining about how horrible your day was yesterday or how bad today's going to be? Or did you come in as an A player, ready to go, ready to help out your teammates on time or even early, ready to get stuff done? So I try to remind them always, are you being an A player today? Are you going to be a B player, or are you just going to be a C player?
And this is so important. A players show up on time. They always show up on time. A players are always on time. They always get their work done. B players are never on time. They never get their work quite done. C players don't even pretend to be on time or pretend to get their work done. Okay. Now moving on here, final steps, 13, 14, then we're done harassing you there, Dr. Spurl. You got to look at your accounting. I personally like this part a lot. I like it. I don't know if it's something I've taught myself or I get into it. I like it. Good, bad. I want to know the numbers. I find that most people don't like the numbers. I find that people have like an aversion, like, oh, if I look in the junk drawer, I'm going to find a VCR remote from 2 decades ago. I think people, it's almost like it's like regret. It's like failed execution. It's like dreams failed to meet reality. Accounting for a lot of people is just like great accountability, and they don't like it. For accounting for most people, they don't like it. So I want to go to you there, Amelia, and then I'll go to Spurl on this. Why do people not by default like looking at numbers? Like when you ask somebody, what's your conversion rate on selling memberships, or, you know, how many haircuts are you cutting per day, or what was your average tip, or whatever why don't people typically like to look at numbers?
I would say it comes from the first thing I would say, it comes from a place of kind of laziness, just not tracking, just because they either don't know how or they just don't want to keep up with it. And the second thing is people don't like being held accountable. People don't like having to be followed up with. People don't like having accountability. It's an everyday process with my managers in the shops to keep up with what were your numbers for the week. Every day I ask them, what were your numbers? We have a group text every night. What was everybody's numbers? I have to know your numbers. It's so important. And then after they tell me their numbers, I have to go back and double check them because half the time they either were wrong, whether that's, in a nefarious way or not, whether it was just a mistake, an accident. But I always have to go back and double check them. And then it's my job to hold them accountable if people's numbers aren't up to par.
Spurl, have you ever found that people don't like to look at numbers when you say, guys, we need to look at the numbers here? Have you ever found that people have an aversion to numbers? Or because again, people look at officialsignups.com, they see the success. Maybe they don't see behind the stuff behind the stuff. Do people like numbers by default? Have you found?
Employees don't. Employee owners do. Business owners do. So it's accountability. And so and if you're an owner who doesn't like numbers, then you have to change that instantly, because it is an accountability. As an owner, if your numbers aren't good, that's on you. And employees don't like necessarily to see the truth of their reality, because they may say, no, I'm really good at my job, because they can talk to other people. But if you look at the numbers and say, all right, yeah, but you're being paid X amount of dollars and you're only bringing in 70% of that, there's no way that's going to fly long term. And so the actual reality of what the numbers reveal, a lot of people don't like. And so laziness is a big part of it. It's extra work that they don't see the value in it. The value for as a business owner is, I can't tell you how much value it is. It's that high. It's a very, very important deal.
Final two questions I have for you there, sir. If we go to officialsignups.com, point 14 is, what's the point of achieving financial success? You want to be able to have success with your faith, your family, your finances, your fitness, your friendship, fun. You want to be able to have success in these 7 areas: faith, family, friendship, fitness, finances, fun, focus. You want to be able to, what does it mean to have fun with it? What does it mean to have a goal for your focus? Where do you want to spend your time? You want to be able to have success in life. And so it's very important you do that. So my two final questions I have for you is, one, what kind of impact has consulting made on your overall business there at officialsignups.com?
Well, it's improved our ability to get results that are duplicatable. So in my world, when I saw patients, I could get them better in my small little room, and I was impacting just a finite number of people. Now I have a duplicatable system, and I can actually reach thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of people with what we're doing. So the impact is there as far as just on people and the masses. And so it's been very, very valuable for me. It helped a lot. It's helped take what I had that was kind of hidden, and now it's starting to get out to so many more people. And I have so many people that stop me all the time, thanking me for just being around, having a facility. I don't even know who they are, because it's been something that happened through our process here, and the growth and expansion that we've had. So yeah, it's been very rewarding, and impactful is the big word for me.
Final thing I want to point out here is, again, folks, if you're looking for a doctor you can trust, it's officialsignups.com, officialsignups.com. Final 30 seconds here. Why should everybody check out officialsignups.com if they don't have a family doctor at this point that they have a solid relationship with there?
Well, for us, we treat people from all 50 states and 12 countries right now, and we help people find out why they feel the way they do, like their identity from a health perspective of what's going on internally, and how to prevent disease, how to prepare your body to be as healthy as possible so that you can be the best version of who you are.
Dr. Spurl, I really do appreciate your time today, sir. And everybody, I encourage everybody to check out that website. Again, it's officialsignups.com, officialsignups.com. Sir, we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Bye-bye. Folks, on part 2 of today's show, I want to introduce you to another longtime client, a great guy. On part 1 of today's show, we talked about building all these systems that are needed to scale a company. We gave you the example of Official Signups, the longtime medical client we've worked with. But let's say you're not in the medical space, or let's say you don't have a desire to be in the medical space and you have a different kind of business. The vast majority of the principles still apply. The vast majority of the principles we taught on part 1 still apply to part 2 of today's show. And one of those is the speed with which you return leads equals the quality, the perceived quality in the mind of the consumer. What am I saying? Speed equals quality oftentimes in the mind of the consumer. So a lot of small business owners, they have a business. Maybe they have a window cleaning business. They're a law firm. They're a dentist. They're a landscaping business. They're a home remodeler, whatever they are. And when someone goes to your website, it might take your team 24 hours to call the lead back. It might take your team 2 days to call the lead back. In some cases, people only call the lead back once. But today's guest on part 2 of today's show is a longtime client who is now franchising his business, and he has really refined the process of consistently calling and following up. They call, they text, they email, they follow up with every inbound lead as many times as they need to succeed. Yes, when you buy a Window Ninjas franchise, you're going to team up with a team that will follow up with every single lead as many times as they need to succeed. With that being said, Gabe Salinas, welcome onto the Thrivetime Show. How are you, sir?
Thanks for having me today, Clay. I'm doing well. Thanks for asking.
I got to ask you this, and I mean this sincerely. When someone goes to your form at windowninjas.com, so many business owners that I talk to, they say, why do you have to have your team call a lead back 5 times or 3 times or 2 times? Or why do you have to call a lead back multiple times? Why do you have to text a lead? Why do you have to call the lead? Why do you have to have a call script? Why do you have to record the calls? You guys have really refined this to the point where it's almost an art at this point. Talk to me about what would happen to the success of your company if you only called every lead 1 time.
Well, Clay, if we called every lead 1 time, we would probably not reach 90% of them. People are busy. That's why the website's so important. With our website, people can go to windowninjas.com and they can literally book an appointment online, and it sends us that information. But what happens is we have to confirm that information with them, so they're more apt to pick up the phone if they see that it's us calling. But a lot of companies, they'll just have a form fill where they just send over a request for a specific service, whatever the case may be. And then they go on about their day, and they're taking their kids to school, and they're taking their little girl to ballerina classes at the end of the day, and their little boys got football practice, and they just kind of forget about you. And so it gets really, really difficult for you to try to get a hold of them. And so it's important that you call them over and over and over again, so you can actually get them all on the phone and actually facilitate their needs and get them all fixed up.
You know, we've had the pleasure of working with you for years, and so I've seen the evolution of your systems, and they are so well refined now that it's exciting to see that you're franchising. But let's talk about it again. What would happen if you didn't have call scripts? I mean, what if your team was following up with leads, but you didn't have call scripts? What would happen?
Well, the conversations would be all over the place. Each conversation needs to start with building a rapport. So you got to build a rapport with the client. And if we didn't have scripts, then all of our call center agents wouldn't understand that. They would just be kind of winging it. You want to have a script so that you can verify that you get all the information from the client. With our scripts, we always make sure that we verify who you are, what your name is, first and last, what your address is, what your phone number is, what your email address is, and all that important information so that we can set up an appointment, maybe set up a quote, text over information that the client may be asking about while we're on the phone with them. But those scripts are really powerful. It allows our sales agents to literally have a great conversation, facilitate the client's needs, capture all the information that is extremely important for us, and provide the client all the information that they need so they have a great buying experience.
What if you didn't let's say you didn't record the calls. So you had scripts, and you told your team to follow up, but you didn't record the calls. What would happen?
Well, we wouldn't be able to train our call center agents on how they're doing. Part of the fabulous thing about recording phone calls is the fact that you can pull those calls and you can utilize it to train maybe a new employee, maybe a veteran employee. You can go over things that they're doing really well, maybe things that they need to learn how to do better. Or sometimes, the power goes out right when we're in the middle of putting a job into that fancy computer of ours, but the call is still going and the call is recorded. So we can always go back to that call and gather pertinent information that may be of some serious value in case the lights went out, or hey, maybe an employee made a mistake and forgot to write down the correct zip code of a customer's home. Hey, having a recorded call is super powerful for getting that information.
Now, let's say that you didn't have an ongoing hiring process in place. Let's say you had the call recording, you had the scripts, you had the systems, you told your team to follow up. Think about this, folks. What if you had the call recording system installed? You had the scripts. You told your team to follow up, but you didn't have an ongoing recruitment and staff training process. What would happen?
Well, you'd fall short of employees really fast if you didn't have a system in place to bring new people in. It's mind-blowing that people still like to do the one-on-ones with every single employee that comes in or that's looking for a job. Man, we have streamlined our process where we bring everybody in once a week. We constantly have people reaching out to us looking for a career opportunity. We're always promoting the fact that we are hiring and looking for great people. And if we didn't do that, Clay, I mean, we would be missing out on a lot of opportunities for great people. And we would always be in a pickle because let's say we have to let somebody go because they did something inappropriate with maybe some sort of other human in the office. Whatever the case may be, we definitely want to have somebody back up to come in and facilitate that specific job that needs to be filled at that specific time. So there's a lot of good reasons why you wanted to have a pipeline of employees.
You brought this up, and I'm not going to make you go into more detail, but I'm going to go into more detail because on our first part of our show, we talked about this as well. And the doctor that I interviewed has never met you before, so we didn't collude on this. But on part one of today's show, we were talking about the systems, and we were talking about the crazy things that employees will do that has nothing to do with the ownership at all. And so there is there's wild things they do. And I told him on part one of today's show, true story. So anybody who heard part one, you'll know this to be true. We had an employee years ago that I thought, man, there's something weird. I think this guy's dating that woman. I don't think those two are married. I'm not quite sure of what's happening. So, and then I started thinking, well, that guy's dating that woman. I don't think they're married, but I think they're married to someone else. And so eventually I had the staff meeting. I said, guys, listen. New policy here. I want to be clear. In the handbook, it says you can't date other coworkers. I got it. But you also can't sleep with them. And then the reaction these people had, Gabe, they were like, are you kidding me? Are you trying to get up in our private life? So in their mind, they had read the handbook and they thought, well, as long as I'm not publicly dating them, I could still do crazy stuff on the side. And it creates that weird culture. And thankfully, I have a pipeline of ongoing, inbound, wonderful, talented people. And so I had to go to the young man and I had to say, hey, I hate to tell you this, but you can't sleep with your subordinates. This is many years ago, but you're a manager. You can't sleep with people that work underneath you. And you're a married guy too. What's wrong with you? So I had to let that person go. Then I talked to the woman he was sleeping with. I'm like, I can't have you work in an environment where you're sleeping with your boss. Boss is your path to promotion. He's a married guy. What's wrong with you? Boom. And as I was going through and dealing with that, I discovered there was about 6 people in the office that were playing those kinds of games during that couple-year period of time. And that's the kind of stuff that happens if you don't have the ability to replace people. And that's the stuff behind the stuff, Gabe, that nobody wants to talk about. You can go to 1,000 business conferences and nobody will talk about what you and I just talked about. Why is it that conferences, nobody talks about these kinds of things?
Oh, I agree so much, Clay. And it's funny you brought that up because literally about a year ago, we had the same situation happen again. And it was one of my best sales guys. He's living with his girlfriend. I got this other little girl comes in and she's working sales too. And the next thing you know, them two are working sales together, if you know what I mean. And then the girlfriend finds out, and then she kicks the best sales guy out of the house. And now he's boo-hooing on my shoulder like it's the end of the world for him. And next thing you know, the girl that he was hanging out with, who was another salesperson, she's magically gone. And so all of a sudden we were down 2 people. But because we have a good hiring process and we're always looking for great candidates, and even if we can't bring that candidate on today, we always let them know that, hey, when that opportunity arrives, we're going to call out to you. Unfortunately, we were able to bring in 3 more people quickly to replace the 2 that were gone because they wanted to play the sideways games with each other when they shouldn't have been.
And that's real. That's the stuff behind stuff. Real. And that is why I believe that buying a franchise is a good move. And I want people to know this because you guys provide, and there's a lot of things you provide, but I'm going to hit on the 5 things that I believe that you provide that really people should be excited about. 1, it's an affordable business plan. You've already thought about what could go wrong. You've pretty much created business with, it's like bumper bowling for business. You've already documented the proven path. That's 1. 2, you have a call center that answers the phone and handles the scheduling for people. 3, you guys get new franchisees trained up and equipped for success very quickly. 4, you have a turnkey marketing system, And 5, you have a mentor or a coach or a team or somebody you can talk to that can relate to these kinds of things. So in the final 60 seconds we have, why do you believe that everybody should reach out to buy a Window Ninjas franchise? Tell us about the brand and why everybody should maybe reach out and look into buying a windowninjas.com franchise.
Well, Clay, Window Ninjas is a great opportunity for anybody seeking some time freedom, financial freedom, and doing something that provides value to other customers and clientele. We service residential and commercial clientele, $1 million mansions to, $2 billion properties. I mean, it's amazing the vast differences in clients that we service. And it's just a great opportunity. People don't have the opportunity to get out there and clean their own windows or wash their own houses or clean their own buildings or whatever the case may be. And we facilitate that need. I have been in the industry for 32 years. My older son has been in the business since he was 15, so almost 15 years as well. And my wife's been in the accounting side of it for, almost 25 years as well. And we've just built a really scalable and robust business that works well for people that are looking for time freedom, financial freedom. You can get out there and clean every window you want to, or you can have other people doing it for you, which is the choice that I recommend the most. But I go on vacation every year. I go on vacation probably 4 or 5 times a year. I get to go see my kids, play ball or just go enjoy the grandson, whatever the case may be. But if you want a life like that, Window Ninjas is a great opportunity. We're scalable, we're affordable, we're always looking for great people, and we are always looking to serve the people that we bring in because, like you said, we have a call center, we answer the phones, we're scheduling jobs for them, we have turnkey marketing, we do so much for our clientele, which are our franchisees, that, man, I think there's nobody else that's going to go above and beyond than somebody over here at Window Ninjas is going to do for them.
So let's hit on the final detail here I want to hit on is how much money does it cost, or how much money does someone need to have available or access to, just so people don't waste your time. If they go to windowninjas.com, I don't want anyone wasting their time. I don't want anyone wasting your time. If someone goes to windowninjas.com, how much money does someone need to have to get into the game as a windowninjas.com franchise owner?
Like they're going to need $50,000 to join the club, and that's the franchise fee. With equipment and everything all set at the end of the day, if they've got about $150,000, they're going to be rocking and rolling. We can get them set up in their backyard, wherever they call home base or whatever their dream location is. We can get them set up, trained, educated within 2 weeks, and man, they can be making money immediately. It is absolutely amazing how well our marketing is. And we teach all of our franchisees how to do the services, how to do the marketing, how to meet the clients, how to follow up with those clients, things to be a good steward of the community and get your name out there. And so other people know about you and your business. But we teach all that. And for $150K, where you can make anywhere between 30 to 45% profit, man, it is a no-brainer.
Gabe, I really do appreciate you taking out time for us today, carving out time to be here. And again, I encourage everyone to check out that website, windowninjas.com. Again, that's windowninjas.com. Sir, we'll talk to you next week.
Sounds great, Clay. Have a great day.
JT, do you know what time it is?
4:10.
It's Tebow time in Tulsa, Jerusalem, baby. Tim Tebow is coming to Tulsa, Oklahoma. Whoa. During the month of Christmas, December 5th and 6th, 2024, Tim Tebow is coming to Tulsa, Oklahoma in the 2-day interactive Thrivetime Show Business Growth Workshop. Yes, folks, put it in your calendar. This December, the month of Christmas, December 5th and 6th, Tim Tebow is coming to Tulsa, Oklahoma in the Thrivetime Show 2-day interactive business growth workshop. Whoa. We've been doing business conferences here since 2005. I've been hosting business conferences since 2005. What year were you born?
1995.
Dude, I've been hosting business conferences since you were 10 years old. And a lot of people, have followed Tim Tebow's football career on the field and off the field. And off the field, the guy's been just as successful as he has been on the field. Now, the big question is, JT, how does he do it?
Well, they're going to have to come and find out because I don't know.
Well, I'm just saying, Tim Tebow is going to teach us how he organizes his day, how he organizes his life, how he's proactive with his faith, his family, his finances. He's going to walk us through his mindset that he brings into the gym, into business. It is going to be a blasty blast in Tulsa, Jerusalem. Folks, I'm telling you, if you want to learn branding, you want to learn marketing, you want to learn search engine optimization, you want to learn social media marketing, that's what we teach at the Thrivetime Show 2-day interactive workshop. If you want to learn a accounting, you want to learn sales systems, you want to learn how to build a linear workflow, you want to learn how to franchise your business, that is what we teach at the 2-day interactive Thrivetime Show Business Workshop. You know, over the years, we've had the opportunity to feature Michael Levine, the PR consultant of choice for Nike, for Prince, for Michael Jackson. We've had the top PR consultant in the history of the planet has spoken at the Thrivetime Show workshops. We've had Jill Donovan, the founder of RusticCuff.com, a company that creates apparel worn by celebrities all throughout the world. Jill Donovan, the founder of RusticCuff.com, has spoken at the 2-day interactive Thrivetime Show Business Workshops. We have the man who's responsible for turning around Harley Davidson, a man by the name of Ken Schmidt. He has spoken at the Thrivetime Show 2-day interactive business workshops. Folks, I'm telling you, these events are going to teach you what you need to know to start and grow a successful business. And the way we price the events, the way we do these events, is you can pay $250 for a ticket or whatever price that you can afford. What? Yes! We've designed these events to be affordable for you, and we want to see you live and in person at the 2-day interactive December 5th and 6th Thrivetime Show Business Workshop. Everything that you need to succeed will be taught at the 2-day interactive Thrivetime Show Business Workshop, December 5th and 6th in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And the way we do these events is we teach for 30 minutes, and then we open it up for a question and answer session so that wonderful people like you can have your questions answered. Yes, we teach for 30 minutes, and then we open it up for a 15-minute question and answer session. It's interactive. It's 2 days. It's in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We've been doing these events since 2005, and I'm telling you, folks, it's going to blow your mind. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Thrivetime Show 2-day interactive business workshop is America's highest rated and most reviewed business workshop. See the thousands of video testimonials from real people just like you who've been able to build multi-million-dollar companies. Watch those testimonials today at thrivetimeshow.com. Simply by clicking on the testimonials button right there at thrivetimeshow.com, you're going to see thousands of people just like you who've been able to go from just surviving to thriving. Whoa. Each and every day, we're going to add more and more speakers to this all-star lineup, but I encourage everybody out there today, get those tickets today. Go to thrivetimeshow.com. Again, that's thrivetimeshow.com. And some people might be saying, well, how do I do it? What do I do? How does it work? You just go to thrivetimeshow.com. Let's go there now. We're feeling the flow. We're going to thrivetimeshow.com. Again, you just go to thrivetimeshow.com. You click on the business conferences button, and you click on the request tickets button right there. The way I do our conferences is we tell people it's $250 to get a ticket.
Yep.
Or whatever price that you can afford. And the reason why I do that is I grew up without money. JT, you're in the process of building a super successful company. Did you start out with $1 million in the bank account?
No, I did not. Nope, did not get any loans, nothing like that. Did not get an inheritance from parents or anything like that. I had to work for it, and I'm super grateful. I came to a business conference. That's actually how I met you, met Peter Taunton. I met all these people.
So if you're out there today and you want to come to our workshop, again, you just got to go to thrivetimeshow.com. You might say, well, who's speaking? We already covered that. You might say, where's it going to be? It's going to be in Tulsa, Jerusalem, Oklahoma. And so it says Tulsa, Jerusalem. I'm really trying to rebrand Tulsa as Tulsa, Jerusalem, sort of like the Jerusalem of America. But if you type in Thrivetime Show and Jinx, you can get a sneak peek or a look at our office facility. This is what it looks like. This is where you're headed. It's going to be a blasty blast. You can look inside, see the facility. We're going to have hundreds of entrepreneurs here. It is going to be packed. Now, for this particular event, folks, the seating is always limited because my facility isn't a limitless convention center. You're coming to my actual home office, and so it's going to be packed. Who? You're going to come. Who? You? I'm talking to you. You can just get your tickets right now at thrivetimeshow.com. And again, you can name your price. We tell people it's $250 or whatever price you can afford. And we do have some select VIP tickets, which gives you an access to meet some of the speakers and those sorts of things. And those tickets are $500. It's a 2-day interactive business workshop, over 20 hours of business training. We're going to give you a copy of my newest book, The Millionaire's Guide to Becoming Sustainably Rich. You're going to leave with a workbook. You're going to leave with everything you need to know to start and grow a super successful company. It's practical, it's actionable, and it's Tebow time right here in Tulsa, Jerusalem. Get those tickets today at thrivetimeshow.com. Again, that's thrivetimeshow.com.
Hello, I'm Michael Levine, and I'm talking to you right now from the center of Hollywood, California, where I have represented over the last 35 years 58 Academy Award winners, 34 Grammy Award winners, 43 New York Times bestsellers. I've represented a lot of major stars, and I've worked with a lot of major companies, and I think I've learned a few things about what makes them work and what makes them not work. Now, why would a man living in Hollywood, California, in the beautiful sunny weather of LA, come to Tulsa? Because last year I did it, and it was damn exciting. Clay Clark has put together an exceptional presentation, really life-changing, and I'm looking forward to seeing you then. I'm Michael Levine. I'll see you in Tulsa.
Thrivetime Show 2-day interactive business workshops are the world's highest rated and most reviewed business workshops because we teach you what you need to know to grow.
You can learn the proven 13-point business systems that Dr. Zellner and I have used over and over to start and grow successful companies. I mean, we get into the specific steps on what you need to do to optimize your website. We're going to teach you how to fix your conversion rate. We're going to teach you how to do a social media marketing campaign that works. How do you raise capital? How do you get a small business loan? We teach you everything you need to know here during a 2-day, 15-hour workshop. It's all here for you. You work every day in your business, but for 2 days you can escape and work on your business and build these proven systems so now you can have a successful company that will produce both the time freedom and the financial freedom that you deserve. You're going to leave energized, motivated, but you're also going to leave empowered. The reason why I've built these workshops is because as an entrepreneur, I always wish that I had this. And because there wasn't anything like this, I would go to these motivational seminars, no money down, real estate, Ponzi scheme, get motivated seminars, and they would never teach me anything. It was like you went there and you paid for the big chocolate Easter bunny, but inside of it, it was a hollow nothingness. And I wanted the knowledge, and they're like, oh, but we'll teach you the knowledge after our next workshop. And the great thing is we have nothing to upsell. At every workshop, we teach you what you need to know. There's no one in the back of the room trying to sell you some next big get-rich-quick, walk-on-hot coals product. It's literally, we teach you the brass tacks, the specific stuff that you need to know to learn how to start and grow a business. And I encourage you to not believe what I'm saying, and I want you to Google the Z66 auto auction. I want you to Google elephant in the room. Look at Robert Zellner and Associates. Look them up and say, are they successful because they're geniuses, or are they successful because they have a proven system? When you do that research, you will discover that the same systems that we use in our own business can be used in your business. Come to Tulsa, book a ticket, and I guarantee you it's going to be the best business workshop ever, and we'll even give you your money back if you don't love it. We've built this facility for you, and we're excited to see you.
And now you may be thinking, what does it actually cost to attend an in-person 2-day interactive Thrivetime Show business workshop? Well, good news. The tickets are $250 or whatever price that you can afford. What? Yes, they're $250 or whatever price you can afford. I grew up without money, and I know what it's like to live without money. So if you're out there today and you want to attend our in-person 2-day interactive business workshop, all you got to do is go to thrivetimeshow.com to request those tickets. And if you can't afford $250, we have scholarship pricing available to make it affordable for you.
I learned at the Academy in Kings Point in New York. Acta non verba. Watch what a person does, not what they say.
Whoa. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show. Today I'm broadcasting from Phoenix, Arizona, not Scottsdale, Arizona. They're close, but they're completely different worlds. And we have a special guest today. Definition of intelligence is if you agree with me, you're intelligent. And so this gentleman is very intelligent. I've done this show before also, but very seldom do you find somebody who lines up on all counts. And it's a Mr. Clay Clark. He's a friend of a good friend, Eric Trump. But we're also talking about money, bricks, and how screwed up the world can get in a few and a half hour. So Clay Clark is a very intelligent man, and there's so many ways we could take this thing. But I thought, since you and Eric are close, Trump, what were you saying about what Trump can't, what Donald, who's my age, and I can say or cannot say?
First of all, I have to honor you, sir. I want to show you what I did to one of your books here. There's a guy by the name of Jeremy Thorne, who was my boss at the time. I was 19 years old, working at Faith Highway. I had a job at Applebee's, Target, and DirecTV. And he said, have you read this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad? And I said, no. And my father, may he rest in peace, he didn't know these financial principles. So I started reading all of your books and really devouring your books. And I went from being an employee to self-employed, to the business owner, to the investor. And I owe a lot of that to you. And I just wanted to take a moment to tell you, thank you so much for allowing me to achieve success. And then I'll tell you all about Eric Trump. But I just want to tell you, thank you, sir, for changing my life.
But not only that, Clay, thank you, but you become an influencer. More than anything else, you've evolved into an influencer where your word has more and more power. So that's why I congratulate you on becoming. Because as you know, there's a lot of fake influencers out there too, or bad influencers.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm glad you and I agree so much, and thanks for reading my books.
Yeah.
That's the greatest thrill for me today. Not a thrill, but recognition is when people, young men especially, come up and say, I read your book, changed my life. I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this.
I learned at the Academy, Kings Point in New York, acta non verba. Watch what a person does, not what they say. Whoa.